Good evening, everyone. My name is Peter DuPont. I am the managing partner of Asia Clean Energy Partners and the PFAN coordinator for Asia, the Asia Regional Coordinator for the Private Financing Advisory Network. I'm delighted to bring you this side event, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. Welcome to our iPitch event at iPitch at ACEF. The theme today is tech-enabled solutions with data and digitalization. And we have an exciting program for you. This builds on a partnership that PFAN and the Sustainable Energy Association of Singapore have had over the past more than 10 years. And to kick this off, I'm glad to invite my friend and colleague Kavita Gandhi, who is the Executive Director of SEAS, the Sustainable Energy Association of Singapore. So Kavita, take it away.
Thank you so much, Peter. And a very, very warm welcome to all of you joining us from different parts of the world. We are delighted to be part of the Asian Clean Energy Forum, an event that we have attended and participated in religiously over the last so many years. And that's all thanks to the Asian Development Bank. This year, it's a privilege for us to partner with an organization that, like Peter mentioned, we have worked for a long time, like to call them a friend, the Private Financing Advisory Network. Like I said, we've been part of the journey together, helping clean energy companies grow. It's a very complementary partnership, as between us, we cover the entire span of a company's, journey from a startup to a scale up, to graduating as a mature company, joining the ranks of 200 over commercial companies that we have as members. So I just thought at this point, I will share with you a little bit about who we are, as SEAS, and also about our program, which is, we like to call it the Sustainable Energy Startup Network. So I'll just start with that. So basically, we are an industry association with 200 over companies as our members, based out of Singapore. And we do many things, but today I think our focus is going to be on startups and what we do with them. So we started the Sustainable Energy Startup Network in 2018 to help clean energy startups to grow, not just in Singapore, but we help companies from around the region, actually around like globally, as long as they have some sort of interest in this part of the world. Next, please. So what do we offer to the startups? So we have a whole host of programs that we have developed, and products, I like to call them, to really help the startups grow. If you see my slide here, let me see. So at the very minimum, we help to connect them to more mature companies. They can network with the industry, in Singapore and in the region where we work. We do training. We do connection to government agencies and government bodies, etc. But at a more deeper level, we are connecting them to investors. We are finding them test bedding opportunities so they could do their pilots. And we are also doing R&D. Singapore is known for doing a lot of research and development, so we can also connect them to the right R&D partners. And lastly, we do an annual event called Power ACE, where again, we shortlist the most promising startups. So just a little bit more on that on the next slide. So the first thing that we do is iPitch, and today we are partnering with PFAN at ACEF. But typically we do this event quite regularly on our own or with different partners. As you can see, this year already, we have connected 40 startups with about 250 investors. We made about 90 matches, 6 sessions already done. And these are some examples of the startups that we have helped. The next would be Power Ace. This is the competition that we do. Again, we are very happy to partner with PFAN this year for this particular competition, which is for global startups. And we have some attractive awards and, you know, a very eminent judging panel, etc. So happy to talk more about that later. And going forward, I think, is that all we have? Yeah. So this is just, I wanted to touch on some of our winners over the years for Power Ace. Most of these startups have gone to do some very exciting things. So we are very happy about identifying them early on. And lastly, none of this would have been possible without the partners that we work with. So for us, it's all about collaborations. As you can see there, PFAN has been partnering with us. ADB Venture has been partnering with us. Enterprise Singapore, which is Singapore government, supports us very strongly, and many other organizations, as you can see. So very happy to kick off today's, iPitch at ACEF. And I'm very excited about the lineup of the startups that we have. And they're a good mix of startups from both Cs as well as PFAN. So you'll see that diversity that I was talking about and the complementary sort of partnership that we have with PFAN. So with that, I won't come between you and these exciting startups. And I'm going to hand it over to Peter. Over to you,
Thank you,
Peter.
Kavita. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those introductory words. I'll do a little bit of housekeeping and then we'll jump into the pitching. So many of you have been on webinars before. This is a webinar that has a chat function and a Q&A function. The chat function, you feel free to introduce yourself, say who you are, where you're from. You can share your information there. If you do have questions for the startups, please put them into the chat function as well. Okay, and during the Q&A session, we'll try to get to your questions as much as we can. You are all muted and your video is turned off so that the presenters can present and you can communicate to us by chat. Now, before I go into, we start off, I wanted to thank the Asian Development Bank for the opportunity to have a side event at the Asia Clean Energy Forum. And this is the first day, it's very exciting. It's the first day of the second virtual Asia Clean Energy Forum. We sincerely hope that next year we can see each other and be together in person. But for now, this will have to do. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit building on the partnership that PFAN has with CS. We have a unique complementarity of interest. CS is a Singapore-based but outward-looking organization. So we have access through the partnership to Singapore companies that are active in the Singapore market, but also are looking to export their technologies and business models to developing countries around Asia and beyond. So, and PFAN is a international network of climate and clean energy experts that is operated by UNIDO, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, and the funding for the activities that we do under PFAN is basically donor funding that is used to identify projects and provide free coaching and advisory. So as part of this event and our other the other events such as Power Ace that we do with CS, we typically help to identify projects and then we provide some coaching support for development of the business plan, development of the investment pitch. For this event, both the CS team and the PFAN team have worked with the companies to help help them to fine-tune their presentations, and that's what we're about to get to. So before we start, we're going to have a poll, I believe. We're not going to have a poll yet. We're going to start. We're going to go right into. Okay, that's my my take. We do a poll afterwards. Okay, so we're going to do the first startup, and here are the rules. We have a 5-minute pitch. Okay, and this is simulating an elevator pitch. So imagine you're in a very tall building, like a 100-story building. You have 5 minutes. That's a very long pitch. So the first pitch will be made by Resync, and then we'll see how that goes. But after the 5 minutes, there'll be 5 minutes for Q&A. We have two distinguished PFAN colleagues of mine, Nagaraja Rao, who is the head of investment facilitation, and David Yo, who is the Asia Regional Transaction Manager, will turn on their videos and ask a question each, and then we'll go to the questions that appear in the chat. So with no further ado, I hope that Amir is ready. Amir Nurov is going to present on Resync technology. So Amir, you have the floor.
Okay, thanks a lot for having me. Thanks a lot, PFAN. Thanks a lot to CES for organizing these events and making sure that startups like us have a chance to share what we do and what we offer. So today I'll be sharing more about what we do at Resync. We are a Singapore-based startup which is focusing mainly on intelligent energy management solutions which are driven by in-house developed AI models. The reason why we started all of this, as you know, the whole traditional grid infrastructure is going through transformation. And this transformation is mainly driven by a few factors. Of course, adoption of renewable energy sources like solar, wind energy, digitalization of the whole ecosystem with internet access almost everywhere with smart meters and IoT devices, adoption of energy storage systems like batteries, electric vehicles, and of course, implementation of AI and machine learning models for the automation purposes. So 4 of these pillars driving traditional grid towards what we call smart grid or smart city solutions. And at the heart of this transformation lays the data. So whichever company leveraging their data efficiently can save up to 30% of their energy usage. And that's what we offer at Resync. So we provide cutting-edge technology, which is enhanced by AI and machine learning models. We ensure that there's fully reliable infrastructure in terms of data aggregation, processing, storing, analyzing, and then feeding it to the customer. We made it affordable so it can be used by SMEs, but at the same time by MNCs. And it can be scalable easily in terms of, it can be used at one site, it can be used at hundreds of thousands of sites. We are fully cloud-based, so based in Singapore, we serve customers across different countries, and we can customize our solution depending on a customer needs. A bit of overview how our solution looks like. We can provide our solution up to the individual stakeholders, be it an IoT asset owner, or it's a solar power plant, or it's a smart building solutions. At the same time, we can create a microgrid or nanogrid and provide our solution as a VPP, virtual power plant, where we basically aggregate all the data, take real-time control actions, synchronize multiple energy assets, and then provide value addition to the end users. And all our data is stored on a cloud. We have components which are hardware components as well, but we are flexible enough. If the end user have their own hardware devices, we can basically leverage on their hardware devices as well. Our core solution is our platform, analytics platform, which is cloud-based. As I mentioned, we can integrate it with any third-party hardware, be it a Huawei, Schneider, ABB, we work with all of them. But at the same time, we can provide end-to-end solution, which is basically our smart controller, as you can see on the right-hand side, Resync Omega. And at the same time, Resync Gamma, which is smart power plug, where we utilize and aggregate different type of data from the end user and then use it within our machine learning models. And one of those usages, those models are used in different domains. We started with our focus on renewable asset management, where we work with EPCs, solar developers, O&M companies, and then expanded to the smart building solutions, where we convert usual buildings into smart buildings. In fact, we were granted EMA, ESG, Energy Market Authority, and Enterprise Singapore grant of $1 million to commercialize our solution within Singapore market. We also serve telecommunication businesses where we help them to manage their telco towers, remote and off-grid towers. We did some projects in EV mobility, and we managed some microgrids in the region. How our solution works and what is the unique part of our solution. So we use NILM, non-intrusive load monitoring, which basically without installing any additional hardware, we can disaggregate what type of loads are used within the specific site. Be it a household, we can break it down into the microwave, AC, fridge, washing machine in real time, and we can tell you how much of energy usage that asset is consuming. At the same time, within the buildings, we can break it down into different floors, different zones, different energy assets, what are their usages, and how to reduce and optimize it. And we can take real-time control action depending on occupancy, energy pricing, what type of energy assets are available, and etc. A quick overview in terms of renewable asset management, we have around 600 megawatt of solar assets, more than 20 customers within 7 countries. We process millions and millions of data. On the right-hand side, you can see some of the snap of our solution that we aggregate multiple sites. We can dive into the specific site, see what type of energy assets in terms of generation consumption you have. And then we do a lot of analytics in terms of predictive maintenance, heat map analysis, forecasting intraday or few days ahead. We dive into the component level details. We provide, IoT asset analysis. We do IV curves, voltages, currents, and etc. And then we provide facility management tool where you can create your organizational chart and basically assign different job tasks within your teammates. We are a B2B company. We charge one-time integration cost, and then it's an annual subscription. These are some of our customers that we are working with or are using our solution and our partners, of course. We are fully taken team. Myself, my co-founder, Dr. Jayantika Soni, we both coming from the energy backgrounds. I used to work for REC Solar for 4 years as an R&D engineer. My co-founder did her PhD specifically focusing on developing control algorithms for energy and power systems. The rest of the team is mainly focusing on software development, firmware integration, IoT integration, and etc. Yeah, so that's a quick overview of what we do at Resync, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you very much, Amir. I was going to say saved by the bell, but the bell didn't even ring. Actually, we have one, I don't know if he's a former REC colleague of yours, but David Yo, who will ask questions, was with REC. Okay, so great presentation. We'll go into Q&A in just one moment, but I just wanted to make a comment, which is somebody contacted me a couple of days ago from Thailand about an interesting problem they have, which is to replace natural gas power plants for baseload. And they asked about the ability of demand response to manage that. Seems like your asset management could address that challenge. But it's interesting, this is so dynamic and so disruptive that these sorts of solutions are really important. So I'd like to ask Nagaraja Rao to turn on his video. So there he is, and there's David. Okay, first over to you. So we'll officially start the 5-minute Q&A now.
Sure.
And Nagaraja Rao is the head of investment facilitation for PFAN. He's based in India. And Nagaraja, over to you.
Thank you, Peter. Excellent presentation, Amir. Good to know about your solution. One thing that probably, which would be interesting as investors will be the timing of your issue. Why do you think that this is the right time for you to enter the market? And what benefits do you see in this?
Sure, it is a very good question. We started Resync around 3.5 years ago. We spinned off from the London-based accelerator called EF. And since both of our founders, me and my co-founder coming from energy backgrounds, we knew what are the on-ground issues that the companies are facing and how to optimize them. So when we started 3 years ago, we didn't straight away went into the venture funding because we knew that we will not be able to catch up with the revenue targets that are required. So what we did, we raised a small angel round and we focused on smaller fishes, like small EPC projects, like 500 kilowatt peak, 1 megawatt peak of projects, where we aggregate the data and then build up our models accordingly. And once we had around 10 to 12 customers to build up our models and our models up and running, then we went for the venture round because we knew that we can straight away target on an entire portfolio of 70 megawatts, 100 megawatts of customers like Sunshow, SunSource companies, and etc. And once we raised our funding, of course, we brought our product into the commercial level, and then we started talking to the customers which can bring us annual revenues, our annual contracts of around $20,000, $30,000 per year. With that portfolio, we knew that the solar margins are very small. So EPCs, solar developers, they're working on very small margins. We can't be $1 billion companies with them. So that's why we expanded by having a knowledge and having the solution for the solar customers. We expanded our solution towards smart buildings. So we didn't want to stay within that solar market. We knew that you need to combine generation with some other consumption assets. So you can create demand response and you can be VPP and you can add even more distributed energy assets. So it makes more value proposition to the end users. And we see
Okay.
huge.
So, Amir, I'm going to cut you off there. The question, that's a great answer. I'm sure we could go on longer, but we need to be concise because we only have 5 minutes. And I'm going to hand it over to David. David Yo.
Hi, Amir. I thank you for your presentation. It's a really great presentation, and I appreciate the technology. I believe I met you guys a while back in one of the particular event hosted by Ecolab. I have a very basic question, and the question is that because currently there's a lot of SaaS players in the market, right? Especially on the energy side. What will make you a differentiating company as compared to the rest of them?
Yeah, SaaS solution, it's not defining product. So SaaS is just a business model. What defines us is our value proposition in terms of technology. And what we provide a smart demand response, which is driven by AI, fully automated without any human interaction. And those AI models are developed in-house by our own engineers. And we build it up over past few years, as I explained earlier, from smaller customer going to bigger customer and then combining multiple different assets. So this is the unique part of Resync. And we confident that our models are very competitive and provide a lot of value proposition to the end user.
Okay, thank you, Amir. And I think we have time for one more question. David, do you have a follow-up? Because we're a little bit tight on time.
There's a question coming out from the floor, and I'll just quickly address.
No, I'll read. All right. I've got that. I'm on it. Okay. Thank you. So there's a question from Romain Mignet. He says, many thanks for this presentation. Could you give us a range of prices for microgrid deployment of the Resync solution, the upfront installation cost, and the yearly subscription fee?
Yeah, it's a tricky question. The reason is because microgrids can be in a different size. So the way we work with our customers is depending what type of assets you have within your microgrid, and then we can scale depending on the scalability of your project. So we usually work with customers. If you are from EDF, you have a lot of sites that you guys are managing. So what we usually do, we do a POC on a smaller side of a nanogrid, I would say. We showcase you the value proposition, and then we can quote you for your entire portfolio and give you the huge discount on that. It's all the game of scalability. So I'll be happy to take a discussion forward separately with you, Romain, and then basically share more details.
Great, thank you so much, Amir. And we're all about starting the conversation, so you can exchange emails or have a discussion in the chat. But one of the unique things we're doing is at iPitch, we have a poll afterwards. Yep, thank you. We finished the 5 minutes. We're now going to do the poll. And this is another reason why for other presenters, if you keep the answers short, you can answer 3 or 4 questions and then generate interest to people. The poll, we'd like you all to take a look at the poll and answer the questions. Basically 2 questions to rate the quality of the presentation, and specifically its level of innovation. And then, would you like to have a cup of coffee with Resync? So what we do, if you say yes, you'd like to contact Resync, then we initiate a conversation between yourself and Resync or whoever the presenter is. So we'll give you just about 20 seconds, and we thank you very much, Amir.
Thank you.
And you can turn off your video now. You can wave goodbye. Goodbye. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And we hope this generates interest among customers and or partners for you. Super. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, and now I'd like to ask Nagaraja and David to turn off their videos. We'll go to the second startup, which is Sun Moksha, and a company we know well. And I'm excited to hear from Ashok Das about Sun Moksha. So Ashok, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Peter. Good to see you here. And thank you, everybody, Nagaraj and David. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for giving us an opportunity to present our case here. Can we start the presentation? Yeah, so as I said, my name is Ashok Das. I'm the founder CEO of Sun Moksha, and I'll be discussing some of the solutions that we have developed for the rural development. We have invested years on the ground in the villages of India and understood the challenges. And based on those challenges, we have created solutions which are based for microgrids and for irrigation, which are based on IoT and cloud solutions. We have been able to deploy these technologies in the field and generate a revenue through customers such as farmers companies, agro corporates, microgrid developers, CSR funding, development agencies, and the government. Our goal in the development side is to at least increase the income of our beneficiaries by twofold. And that is where our focus comes in, which is SDG 8, to increase the economic, to incorporate economic growth in the villages. And our solutions are anchored in SDG 6, 7, 9, and 12. We are addressing multiple challenges on the different fronts. On the water front, our challenge is essentially depleting water resources, a lack of sustainable irrigation practices with regard to water and fertilizer, which is deteriorating our soil quality and wasting our water. And then, of course, there is for shared water irrigation, there is no equitable distribution of water. On the microgrid side, it's an old field, yet there are some challenges that stays there, especially on the dynamic demand supply management in the remote microgrid, which lead to over-design and higher costs. Similarly, on the operations side, there is no sustainability of these microgrids in the remote areas because of the lack of automation and lack of resources in those areas. So what we have done is essentially created IoT and cloud-based solutions to address, for example, in the water sector, we are optimizing and delivering the right quantity of water and fertilizer based on the conditions of the soil and the crop. Similarly, and that helps us reduce the wastage of water and enable multi-season cultivation to increase farmers' income. Of course, we are also promoting shared irrigation, shared resources through our aquapreneur model. On the microgrid side, we are essentially trying to develop a smart grid solution to dynamically manage the demand and supply, and which helps reduce the CapEx and OpEx and provide technical support through remote monitoring. We have enabled, our solution enables the local decision making with regard to operations, maintenance, billing, payment, and automates these to make sure that these operations run sustainably and reduce the dependence on outside resources. We have definitely have competitions all aboard, but we believe that with our USP and the uniqueness of the solutions, we will be able to capture a significant portion of this potential market. We are particularly enthusiastic and hopeful for the sub-Saharan African countries where conducive policies are being implemented. We expect to increase our revenue to about $1 million this year if we get the funding, and increase that up to 18 million over 5 years. The funding will primarily be used for customer acquisitions, market expansion, product enhancement, and project working capital. Over the next 18 months, our target is to focus on Aquanet, acquire more customer, build more, deploy more solutions, and field test some of the sensors that we have been acquiring and developing. And similarly,
5 minutes.
Okay. With that, we have a good team, and we can execute this whole thing. We have deployed our solutions in all across India and Rwanda, And we developed a customer and partner base that will help us achieve this goal that we have set. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ashok. And before we go into the official 5-minute Q&A, David and Nagaraja, you can turn on your videos. I just wanted to ask, curious, which is a bigger revenue source for you now and the future, your irrigation, water management solutions, or your microgrid solutions?
Current in India, it's the water management solution.
Okay, and do you see that, like moving to Africa, is it mostly water or a combination of water and microgrid?
Yeah, both water and microgrid. Microgrid is coming up quite a bit in Africa, and we have a lot of effort going on towards microgrids in Africa.
Okay.
We already
Great, thanks
have
for that. So we'll
irrigation solutions deployed in Africa.
Okay, that's good to hear. So now we'll start the 5 minutes, please. And Nagaraja Rao, over to you for questions.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Ashok. That was a good presentation, and glad to see you doing well. One of the things that you may like to explain to us is what are the barriers to entry for your business model, whether you have created an IP rights for your products that you have, and how do you plan to protect your business model?
So both of these have proprietary solutions, and of course we are based on open source platform, but the entire controller is our. So we have developed our proprietary controller, and definitely the entire software has been developed by us. And these are both currently as a trade secret, but we intend to patent it, especially the controller.
Thank you. Would you like to say something about how your patent would play a role in the valuation of your company?
No, I didn't get the question. How?
How the patenting that you have, what is the roadmap for patenting your products? When do you think that it will happen?
I think we are just fine-tuning some more of the controllers, packaging, etc. And in a few months, we should be able to do that.
Thank you. Back to you, Peter.
Great. Okay. David, your turn.
Thank you for your presentation. And one of the questions I would like to ask is pertaining your financial outlook. It looks quite aggressive sometimes because of the jump. You're actually doing 2 folds every year. Do you think this is a sustainable growth for you?
So we actually, the whole financial projection is based on our what we see coming. So we have developed these relations, we have developed this customer base, and we know where. So there are very few of these projections which are based on blind market uptick, but most of this have been done based on our assessment of what market we can grow and how far can we acquire those markets. It is aggressive.
So a follow-up to David's
question. We can achieve it if we get enough backing.
Yeah, sorry, we have a little bit of a delay, but I'd like to follow up on David's question and ask if you see most of this, the jump from 1 to 2 million and then to 18 million in 5 years, coming mostly from Africa or India, or where do you see that growth happening?
Both. It's both.
Okay.
Mostly microgrid is from mostly in Africa, and agriculture in both India and Africa.
Great. So I'll just be quick here since we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. We have a question from, actually 2 questions. Asim Jahangir asks, who pays for the water management services, local government or farmers?
The farm. We have multiple models where even the farmers can pay for it. And they can, we have, again, we're still developing various models, but right now farmer can buy it, use it, or a farmer group can buy it and utilize it. We have done some projects under CSR, but those are the initial phases. But we expect that the end payee will be the aquapreneur and the farmers.
Okay, That's clear. There's another question, but I think you've already answered it, from Nimal Valipuram, who asked, do you plan on developing Indian and African markets simultaneously?
Yes.
Or would you focus on India first? I think you're doing this simultaneously,
Yes.
right? You've already mentioned that. And I'll give Nagaraja a chance, one more shot at Ashok, and then we'll cut it off. Do you have anything else, Nagaraja?
Thank you so much. Yes. Ashok, in your product, how would you say it creates the opportunities and the SDGs that you think that, that you have shown that it will create value to the environment and the social structures?
Yes, so as I said,
you can elaborate.
Yeah, as I mentioned briefly, that SDG 7 is clean energy. So all our solutions are based on SDG 7. Then SDG 8 is the goal, that is how do we increase the income of our beneficiaries, right?
5
so
minutes.
any of these solutions will eventually be for productive uses, and especially
you have quantified something, Ashok, like more specific answer than that? Like how would each installation, how many families or how many employment? Have you done any study like that?
Oh, so I think I mentioned that we will be, if in each village cluster, it will be approximately 2,000 jobs that we would like to create. And so far we have we have impacted almost 5,000 households.
Wow, okay. I, for one, have a lot of questions. I cannot answer the poll and ask to be connected to you, but I know you already, so that's not fair. There's a lot a lot of threads to pull here, but with that, we will go to the poll, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of interest. Ashok, excellent presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks everybody. Thanks, Cease,
yep,
and thanks,
so we'll go to the poll. I'd like to ask Nagaraja and David and Ashok to turn off their video and give people 30 to 45 seconds to answer these two very challenging questions. So meanwhile, we have the next presenter who is, oh, somebody help me. Is it Qi Square or Chi Square? I guess it's Qi Square, I'll guess. Okay, so 10 seconds on the poll. No, I know how to spell it. It's Qi Square. Is that right, Whitney?
That's correct.
Qi?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, good. Yay, okay. Yeah, no, I figured it's in Chinese, it would be Qi, but you can tell us all about it. So I'd like to introduce, so we'll take the poll off, and we are now moving into the third startup, Qi Square Pte Ltd. The presenter is Nilesh Jadhav, who just said I pronounced the name correctly, which I'm gratified for. And Nilesh, we're looking forward to hearing about Qi Squared, and you've got 5 minutes. Take it away.
Thanks, Peter, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. And thanks to the organizing committee for this opportunity to pitch. If you could just bring up my slides, I can start presenting. Great. So sorry for that. All right. So hi again. My name is Nilesh Jadhav, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Qi Square Pte Ltd. We are a Singapore company. Qi is a life force energy in Chinese, and Qi Square is also a mathematical function. We are at the crossroad of digitalization using statistical tools, advanced data analytics, and delivering a solution for the built environment. And that's why Qi Square came about. We are actually the makers of a platform called Better Life, which is a digital green building market platform. That is the work that we are most proud about. It's essentially an AI-powered green assessment as a service platform for the built environment or for the building industry. And I'll explain that in a bit over the next 5 minutes. So just to build up a context, I think all of us know that post-pandemic, we're going to live in a world which is a little bit different, or maybe a lot different than what we imagine. Green plants are taking center stage. And within that, green buildings have a fair share of occupation because buildings are a huge contributor to carbon emissions and also global energy use. About 150 billion per year will be spent on, is already spent on buildings as per the International Energy Agency, and that's growing at a rate of 9% CAGR. as of 2020, I expect double-digit growth after the pandemic. On the other hand, we also see the clear trend of digitalization. People are adopting digitalization wholeheartedly, like what we're doing today, but also in the buildings domain, which tends to be a conservative industry, the building and construction industry, digitalization is happening. We heard about IoT solutions, we heard about digital twins, and what we have is something which is automating the entire process of doing assessments, and I'll explain that. So what problem are we solving is basically the fact that the building industry is quite fragmented. The building owners, the consultants, the product suppliers, and green financiers typically have a lot of data, but it is not structured in a way to enhance the collaboration and get ahead with works quickly. I could say this as a participant. I used to be a consultant myself in the green buildings domain. I'm a certified energy manager, and I can say firsthand that there is a lot of time wasted in gathering data, collating the data, and making the data usable for a project. Then we need to go towards an internal loop of getting the project approved within the building industry, and then we need to possibly look for external finance as well. So both internally and externally, there is a lot of productivity loss that happens because of the fact that even the initial assessment tends to be quite manual, expensive, very slow in its nature of progression when it goes through a different stage gate and approval process. And that's why sometimes it's only limited to certain sections. So when we talk about a green project to a financier, they would only talk about, let's say, the HVAC or the air conditioning to be replaced. But of course, green projects are broader than that, and we want to bring that up through our holistic digital assessment tool. So what we have done is to basically work on this when I was in the university, where I was for 8 years. And this company is a spin-off company of the local university in Singapore, which is the Nanyang Technological University, NTU Singapore. We have licensed the IP out. What this tool does is basically to combine building physics and AI to be able to deliver very accurate digital twins of buildings, even with an open source concept. And I'll explain that later. So we're creating digital assets to which we can then subject to a lot of scenario plans and start making green projects possible digitally. So we could do their energy analysis, carbon analysis. We could talk about fitting different technologies for improvements, and we could also calculate the returns on investment or the financial model itself. So just imagine, doing a audit or an assessment or work for buildings. This is the skyline of Singapore. Number of buildings. How much time do you think it will take for any consultant or engineer to go around, get the data from the building, start doing the assessments? What we are enabling is an open source platform which will digitalize the entire city. So right now we have digitalized about 10,000 buildings in Singapore, and that will grow to 30,000 buildings, where people can just click around like what you do in a Google map. The 3D models of the buildings already exist. And with that few clicks, they will be able to do a complete assessment to check out what could be the potential energy savings, what could be the technologies that they could use to improve the buildings. And if they are a technology provider, they'll be able to get insights as to how their technology could perform in the building. So we become a connector between the consultants, technology suppliers, in a sense, through our platform. So on the left-hand side of this slide, it's why you see our business model given as a freemium, but essentially helping two key parties, or these are our core assets. One is, on the left-hand side is EDGAR, which is our enhanced digital green assessor. Essentially, all the calculations, simulations that have been done by a consultant or by a sustainability manager can now be done in a fraction of a time that they usually typically spend. Being a consultant, I feel for this, and I can see that this improves the productivity of consultant quite significantly. Let's say from 3 days work, it goes to about half an hour work, and that we offer as a SaaS model. Basically, they could
5 minutes
or a annual subscription. I'll just conclude in the next slide. And on the right-hand side, you'll see the product inclusion assessment, which talks about how products can be included. And again, digitalizing the products gives an opportunity for the building owners to see them and also get these products being included in the assessment specifically. So those are our core products. I will not be able to show the other slides because of the time limit, but just to quickly mention, this is my last slide to talk about the traction that we had so far. So we have been generating revenue based on our software, and we are now developed a platform which is completely ready for scale up. We launched the platform as a beta in September last year, and now we've actually launched the commercial version. We are launching the commercial version in the process of doing that. We already got paid customers on the platform itself. So I'll end here, and thanks a lot again for the opportunity, and really looking forward to the journey and support from all of you wherever possible. Thank you.
So that's what happens when you reach the first floor. You run out of time to make the pitch, but it's so interesting. The guy or the woman stays and listens to the end of your pitch. You were able to show that. So it is challenging. 5 minutes. You did really a good job. A lot of interesting stuff. I just have one quick question before we officially enter Q&A. this is fascinating, this whole idea of being able to assess any building in the city. How do you get the data from those 10,000 buildings, and what are the data privacy issues? And very short answer, just like 30 seconds, and then we'll move on to the official Q&A.
Yeah, so essentially we start with the open source data. We literally start collecting data from open maps, like OpenStreetMaps. Then we go on to create models. We use open disclosure data from the government websites. Then we have the possibility to get users to upload data, like for example, BIM, building information models, CAD drawings, digital drawings. And from then on, we keep on collecting data through open APIs as well. For example, you can write an API to utility providers and get the data in for the real-time operation of the project.
Fascinating, great. So I'm gonna mix things up. We'll start the official Q&A now. And Mr. David Yo from Singapore, you have the first shot this time.
Thank you, Peter. Nilesh, thanks for the presentation. So can I just ask a quick question, and that's pertaining to how we address all the scope of emission, where essentially what your platform is trying to do. Can I say that you will not be effectively able to address all the scope 1, 2, and 3 emission, but just part of it?
Yeah, so in the beginning, we would start by addressing the immediate carbon emissions, the operational carbon emissions in the building, and also the material-based carbon emissions. Over time, as we get more data, we'll move towards actually addressing the wider scope of carbon emissions by the virtue of the fact that we are able to now link our cloud platform to various third-party APIs. So for example, we're looking at linking even to carbon assessment and as well as carbon trading APIs. So you're absolutely right. In the beginning, we'll focus purposely on making sure that we get good traction in the market and get this tool adopted, digitalize the process, and then move on to target bigger or wider areas of adoption.
Thank you.
Right. Nilesh, thank you for the presentation. Two questions I have.
Yes.
One is about the funding that you require. You are indicated $500,000, and that, to my mind, is quite a small amount when you look at your business plan and what you want to achieve in your product. So why $500,000, and what is the justification for that? What kind of investors are you looking for? That is the first question. The second question that I have is, the markets are full of articles on greenwashing and such issues. So when you say that you are going to certify something or help the assessment, what is the standard on which you are basing your software? Because if somebody wants a green building, you go for the LEED certification, something like that, which is, is recognized by every investor. But if you say that it comes through your software, what is the standard and what is the credibility of that, if I may ask you directly? Thank you.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Rao. Very good question. So I'll start with the first question. Essentially, we were looking for $1 million a few months ago. We just found a strategic investor from India, which is a software company, which is a listed company from India. They invested strategically in us, and they will be helping us with the entire business development. So the entire business development cost will be taken care of by them. Then we brought our requirement down to $500,000. And at this stage, we are on our sprint to a Series A. We want to prove the concept, make sure that it works, make sure that people are adopting and actually believing in this way of working, which is a different way that we propose for consultants and building owners. We want to make sure that works, and we are focusing purposely in Singapore for that. So we're keeping our kitty small so that we can purposefully go into Singapore market, address the questions, get the right channels, open the right network partners, approve it, and then move further. So this is really our sprint to Series A, and the type of investors we're looking at is a mix of angel and early stage VCs. We have got good success with angel investors. Out of the $500,000, 130K is already subscribed in the bank, and we're looking for the remaining. We are actually raising up a bit earlier for the VCs. Most VCs tell us we are too early, but we want to keep a foot in so that in the future Series A round that we plan 2 years down the road, we'll be well placed for that. On the second question, which you asked about the data itself. Sorry, could you just recap your second question?
No, my point was that what is the standardization for your this one and certification, and how do you manage when the market expects something like a LEED certification to get credibility for whatever comes out in terms of your assessment from the software? So how do you do that?
So we basically use open standards like ASHRAE 90.1, IEC standards, ISO standards. These are all standards which are openly available. We basically take the building physics equation from ASHRAE, put it up. We use an ML algorithm to basically make sense of it when we collect live data, and we keep on validating our models. We are also looking at the possibility of, let's say, a company like a KPMG or PwC to come and validate our platform and the work that we do there, and also the data sources that we have. That's basically part of our roadmap. In the beginning, we may or may not need that. We got our initial validation when we got our first customer on board, which is basically for product inclusion. And that customer came in without much validation requirement because they can see the business development angle straight away. They're able to access 10,000 buildings with their product by digitalizing their product for Singapore.
Great. So thank you, Nagaraja. Thank you, David. I have two questions. I'll ask them together, and then you can just answer those questions, and then we're out of our 5 minutes. The first one is from Nimal Valiparam again. Very good idea. Would this be available to all types of building users, commercial, residential, and apartment types? So that's the first question.
Yeah.
Oh, the answer is yes. Okay, great. Second question is from the same person, Nimal. How far can you go with open source data and eventually
5 minutes.
Okay, how far can you go with open source data and eventually be forced to work with owners of data such as building owners, utilities, and so on? Is this assumption correct? So what can you do with open source, and then what is that transition like when you have to sort of get data use agreements?
Okay, wonderful question. I'll use the scale of percentage accuracy. So we are getting between 70 to 80% accuracy with purely with open data. We are bringing it between 80 to 90% with some data and validation. Let's say, for example, disclosure data of what the building is using. We are targeting a sweet spot of around 90% accuracy, which will be good enough for doing initial assessments, as well at the same time, make it more accurate over time as we integrate further APIs into the platform, especially real-time data. So for now, 80 to 90% is our sweet spot of accuracy, and that's what we're targeting.
And I can't resist, we're over time, but I do want to ask a question whether you would see this as being useful for green building certification.
We are actually developing an automation tool for Green Mark, which is a certification tool in Singapore. It is absolutely useful, and the fact that the data could be exchanged, it actually works in our favor. So we are making a platform which is linked directly to the Building and Construction Authority of Singapore, and we will automate completely the green building certification journey. We start with Green Mark, then we go to LEED, BREEAM in the future.
Fascinating. Okay. Well, thank you so much. We'll let you go on your way, and hopefully there'll be a lot of interest generated. Super interesting talk, even though you made me wait on the ground floor for a little while to make your pitch, but that was really good. Okay, we now have the poll, and this is for Qi Squared, and we'll give everyone about a minute to answer these two very difficult questions. And in the meantime, on deck, we have Abhivin from Vietnam, the logistics, smart logistics company. On deck. Okay, so with that, let's finish the poll and bring up Abhivin. And I understand there's going to be a joint presentation, Phuong Dao and Chang Vu. And welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to iPitch at ACEF, and you have the floor.
So I get started now.
Yes, please go ahead, and they will, I think they will pull up your presentation. So welcome, Chang.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Chang Vu, and I am External Relation Manager of Abhivin, an AI-powered logistic optimization platform. So talking about logistic operation in the ASEAN market, it is hurtful to see many pressing problems that negatively impact the environment. At the moment, most companies still rely on human experience, making logistic plans manually on maps, spreadsheets, which leads to the unoptimized delivery plans. Secondly, with inefficient planning, the Southeast Asian market, logistic industry records very high fuel gas emission rates and also high operating costs. And finally, many companies lack visibility over their supply chain operations to track and control their fleet as well as their gas consumption. Understanding these pain points, Abivin built an AI-powered logistics optimization platform. The platform consists of two parts, the web application for managers and mobile app for drivers with four main features: delivery route optimization, 3D loading optimization, intelligent dashboard, and transportation management. However, the key component that sets us apart from others is our proprietary optimization algorithms, which can assist human beings in making complex planning decisions automatically. And one of the algorithms that we are most confident in is the vehicle routing problem solutions. Everyday transport planners really struggle to solve the vehicle routing problem, which is to create the optimal delivery plans for thousands of delivery points among different vehicles and constraints. While other tools usually are limited to around 10 constraints, we are able to solve more than 30 constraints simultaneously. And thanks to this USP, we have been helping companies, customers bring products to every part of the world more quickly, accurately, and at the same time, keeping the environment clean the way it should be. Our service is used by 5 key players of the supply chain, including carriers, ports, manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and transporters. Today, we are delivering success for customers, including multinational companies across Southeast Asia and the leading enterprise in Vietnam like DHL, the biggest 3PL companies in the world, Panasonic, P&G, and Saigon Newport, the biggest port operators in Vietnam. Targeting the Southeast Asia market, we noticed that the Southeast Asia is very potential and mostly untapped, with a serviceable addressable market of nearly $22.5 billion. And through 5 years of working closely with in 6 different countries, including Vietnam, Singapore, Myanmar, Indonesia, Japan, and recently the Philippines, our platform is processing more than 75,000 container shipments and 300,000 delivery orders per month. And the freight traffic volume processed by Abivin Virut is 1.5 billion ton kilometers per year, equivalent to 1% of the total freight traffic volume of Vietnam. So logistic costs over time and increase up to 30% of delivery capacity and improve the end-to-end supply chain visibility. Those are the biggest 3 reasons why our customer chose us. And beyond that, Abivin Virut help companies reduce carbon footprint by decreasing time on the road and decreasing the number of vehicles. With our algorithms, vehicles will travel on the shortest route and thus reducing traveling time. Plus, it also optimizes load distribution so that companies only have to use fewer vehicles given the same distribution needs. And finally, we help them keep track and control their fuel consumption in an accurate and timely manner. Every year, Abivin can reduce up to 300 vehicles for our 45 business customers. That can be translated to 1,400 tons of carbon saved for 200 trucks and 220 metric tons of carbon saved for 100 motorbikes, assuming that the vehicles runs on average 100 kilometers per day and 5 to 6 days per week. Our business models is an enterprise SaaS where we charge professional services
5 minutes
and ongoing subscription fees. Behind the scenes, our founding teams include alumni from Cambridge and Google, bring in a strong technical background in algorithms and machine learning combined with experience in enterprise software business development. And we have been recognized by multiple awards on global scales, you can see on the slide. And now we are backed by government-funded innovation programs and global VCs from Vietnam, South Korea, and the US. And at the moment, we are raising funds for Series A. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation.
Wow, that was very sharp and very well timed. So, yeah, I should say that Abiven is a company that PFAN has been supporting. They had a capital raise recently, and we're excited about that. We think this is a really, really interesting company. With that, Nagaraja, do you want to, since your video is not turned on yet, I will hand it over to David to ask the first question. So we'll start the 5-minute Q&A now. And David, go ahead. And Chang, are you going to be assisted by Phuong in answering questions, or just you?
Our CEOs of Abivin, Mr. Long Pham, will joining me in the Q&A session.
Hi, Peter. Hi, everyone.
Okay. Is he? Okay. Are you there? Great. Okay. Super. There you are. Okay. Nice to see both of you. Okay. So we have 5 minutes Q&A, and David, go ahead and ask the first question.
Thanks, Peter. And it was an excellent presentation, and logistics is very close to my heart because my former discipline is actually in logistic management. One question, and you know, all this solution you have is something that I think most companies would definitely want to adopt. So what is then, in your opinion, preventing companies from adopting your solution as per what they're doing now? Because you have 5 years of inception, I would expect a stronger penetration into the market. So what, in your opinion, stops this penetration from growing faster?
Right. Thanks, David, for the question. So we divide our potential customer lead into like 5 levels. And level 1 and level 2 are the one that we find that they are not ready to adopting the solution yet, which is for the level 1, they don't have the data digitized and they don't have the process to be in place. Secondly, the level 2 is that they might have one of them, but they don't have both of them. And level 3 is where they have both of the data and the process in place before we digitize them. So level 3 is where they are ready for using our system. And we can, using our transportation management system with the management features, to move them from level 3 to level 4 so that they all have the data, the process, and the reports to be digitized. And then for the level 5 is where we put into place the algorithms, the optimization features, so that they could have the optimal operations. So that would be the level 5 of the companies. And we found that many MNC have already been in level 4 for several years, or maybe even decades. But most of the company in Southeast Asia, for example, they are still at level 2 or level 3, so that they some are not ready yet to adopting, some are ready and they're using us, and we are moving them up in the ladders.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very clear answer. Thank you very much. And then over to you, Nagaraja.
Thank you, Peter. Excellent, impressive presentation, I must say. Good, you know, the way things have worked out for you. What is, you know, while it's very clear how your product has been accepted in the market, what didn't come through is how much is the money that you want to raise for Series A, and what are you going to do with that money? How are you going to grow? So your roadmap is something that we did not see in the presentation. If you could talk a little bit about that. And the second one is, again, you know, whether you have created the IP for your product and whether that is registered, you know, whether you have the patent. So that is something related to that.
Okay, thanks, Nagaraja. So there are a series of questions. I'm trying to answer them shortly. So first of all, we're trying to raise 5 million for this round, and the money we are using half of them for the still the R&D for the roadmap development, and the half are for the sales and marketing, so that we can expand the market in other Southeast Asian countries. Exceptionally, we do have the Japanese market, so we do think that Vietnamese product can deliver to the Japanese market as well. Talking about the roadmap, we divided our segments, our customers into eight segments. The reason why 8 is because they have shipper and carriers, and each of the vertical we have the international, intercity, intracity, and inner city models. So they're representing, for example, the international is the container model. The intercity is where you moving like 300 kilometers away with a long haul distance. The intracity is where you do the distribution, and the inner city is like the Grab, the Uber model are operating. And right now we are very strong on the intracity model, which we had been doing for about 5 years. And we had big distributors in Vietnam, in Indonesia, and in Myanmar implementing our system. We have been doing for 1.5 years for the intercity model, and then which left the international and inner city model, where we could do more routing algorithms, scheduling and packing for those areas as well. So those are the features that we are putting in the roadmaps for the next coming years, and that's why we need the money for the R&D for those segments.
5 minutes.
So we're out of time, but I'd like you to answer 2 questions very quickly. First, a question on the IP, and second is if you could discuss competition you have perhaps with the larger transportation logistics companies. So again, this has to be very brief, just 30 seconds each, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, thanks. So the IP is entirely owned by us. So our customer are just using our subscription. They don't own any of the intellectual property of us. So we own them 100%. Secondly is how the competition. We do face some of the route optimization competitors or TMS from India. But I think we do have the competitiveness of winning in some of the cases, in the cases that we are bidding in the multinational corporation in Southeast Asia. And also, I don't feel that the logistic company are our competitor. They're actually our customer potential.
Give me 30 seconds,
sorry,
Peter.
I can't give you 30 seconds. I love you, but I can't give you 30 seconds because we're behind. So thank you very much, Nagaraja. Thank you, David. Thank you, Chang. And Long. Thank you so much. Yeah, now we'll see how many people want to connect with you, and I imagine there'll be quite a few. So you can turn off your video. We'll go to the poll, and this time I'm going to give people only. Thank you. Give only 30 seconds because we are in danger of going over time, and I don't want to do that. I might get fired. That would be terrible. Okay, how innovative, and would you like to have a follow-up? Okay, 10 seconds. Now on deck, we have Genesis Ray. So I think we can end the poll, and we're going to go to Genesis Ray and Irfan Chowdhury. Irfan, if you are there, there you are. Excellent. Hi, how are you doing today? Good. Audio's good. Video's good. So
hello.
Yeah, just a sec. They'll get your presentation up. Just a moment, and then we can start. Okay, now we're counting 5 minutes. Over to you.
Okay, good morning and good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. My name is Irfan Chowdhury, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Genesis Ray. Okay. As a quick introduction to Genesis Ray, we are a clean energy focused research and analytics company based in Singapore, with the objective of really developing web-based analytical tools that can help in taking or simplifying the decisions that the stakeholders in the renewable and clean energy have to take on a regular basis, whether it is around development of a new project or looking for M&A opportunities. And as part of the team, we have, as part of the leadership team, we have people with decades of experience in the research and consulting space throughout the Asia Pacific region. But then that is supported by a team of GIS specialists, climate scientists, modelers, and data scientists based out of our India Development Center. So when we started the company, the key kind of a problem that we identified was the renewable industry as such is growing very fast. A lot of investment is happening in the industry, but there is no effective and objective information and analytics platform that can be used to support these decisions to be taken in an optimal manner. Whenever somebody enters a new market or wants to kind of identify a new location for a project, or even looking for M&A opportunities, there's a lot of data, inconsistent raw data that is not spatial referenced, has to be kind of scanned through. A lot of time and effort has to be spent on external partners, and the whole process is not scalable, and you end up with looking at only a limited number of opportunities or options. Thus, a lot of time, some of the decisions are suboptimal. And to really overcome this sort of a problem, what is our solution? So our solution is a GIS-based integrated platform. And when we say integrated platform, it looks at the complete value chain of a renewable energy project development, right from market exploration to resource assessment, site screening, project feasibility, project operations, and the exit itself. So at each step during each stage of the value chain, we have an integrated approach where our tools are available with complete information that is gathered from public sources, analyzed by us, validated by us, standardized, and kind of put in a way that is very intuitive, and you can start using that information with confidence and start taking decisions rather than spending time and effort in gathering that data or be concerned about the authenticity of that data. Especially that becomes very relevant when as a developer or as an investor, you are looking at multiple countries or looking at regions that are outside your home country. To have that access to standardized information is really kind of useful in taking those decisions. And currently, our platform is already completely covered with information and analytics for the entire South Asia and Southeast Asia. And in the future, we plan to make it global. So some of the, so if you can say it's one platform and unlimited users. So right from kind of understanding the competitive portfolio analysis to market analysis, environment impact assessment, aging profile, and to understand overall where does the renewable project sit in the overall structure of the market and how they're connected to the grid, what's the competition, what sort of assets are there in the area that you may be looking at for developing your projects, to something that is looking at site suitability when beyond just the grid itself, understanding the site, what are the constraints of that location, what are the environmental constraints, what are the risk hazards, what is the sort of a solar and wind resource profile, complete historical profile, how do you visualize the existing assets in a 3D kind of a perspective. So all that in a single platform, what it helps is you get a complete comprehensive view of what is to be. I'm just going to the last slide. Business model is a subscription model. And in terms of our kind of ask, it is currently we are looking for $2 million, which is for the development of the products to move them on a global scale. And largely it is for development and with support from a bit for sales and kind of a development of the sales network. And just the last slide in terms of the information and the skill set that we've gathered during this time developing for the clean energy, we believe they have the optionality of in kind of a similar areas in other industries, right from agriculture, urban planning, logistics, and defense. So with that, I would end my presentation here.
Thank you. Thank you. Super interesting and a little bit mind-boggling if you could do everything that you say you can do. It's quite a interesting and potentially very powerful approach in data management and business model. So Nagaraja, would you like to take the first shot at Irfan? Don't hurt him too hard.
Thank you. Irfan, if you are asking for 2 million, something that I would like you to cover is whether you are currently, how much is the burn rate of your cash, or have you started making profits? And if not, what is the break-even level in terms of amount or in terms of number of customers? It is important for you to say when the exit will be and what kind of returns can an investor expect from you over what time horizon?
Right. So in terms of we have a very low burn rate. We've kept the cost very low. So the 2 million is really for development of. Currently, we have multiple products. Not all of them are live. The first one that I showed you in terms of the infrastructure mapping, the whole analytics around that is completely live for South Asia and Southeast Asia. And we plan to kind of get the other products around resource and site suitability live for these regions very soon. And really the funding is to take it on a global level, and also various complex kind of features within the product which we've not been able to add. So it's really there, but in terms of the forward-looking, we only launched our first product towards the end of last year, and we are still a revenue negative company in the sense we are still kind of capturing our initial early day clients, but we have good response over there. And we believe that from 2022 onwards, once we have all the different features or the facets of the platform up and running before the end of the year, it becomes the valuable product that we are talking about. And it should not be difficult for us to achieve in the next 4 to 5 years a revenue of target of between $10 to $12 billion. And I think with the kind of profit margin and the low cost base, that could easily be within a EBITDA margin of 50 to 60%. And clearly in this industry, our competitors are at an EBITDA multiple of 18 to 20. But even if we consider a conservative 10, that's about 50 million to 60 million of valuation in 4 to 5 years.
Thank you.
David.
Fine. Thanks for the presentation. I think this is very good. It's a very good platform and solution in terms of providing risk mitigation for project development. I have two questions, a quick question for you. One is that how much data or how much period of collection of data you must have before this platform predict a solution accurately? And second is that how would this platform perform if it goes into a market that's completely brand new?
Yeah, so on that, I mean, we started our platform with one of the most complex markets, with the South Asia, India, with very, very limited kind of information that is available. But through our kind of a process methodology We have been able to kind of go through hundreds and thousands of data sources, aggregate that, extract information, validate, create databases, and create something that looks very intuitive and standardized. And we've been able to repeat that same process in Southeast Asia in a much shorter time. So what we have learned over this kind of a development of the last over 18 months or so is that now our systems and processes are in place where we can enter into a new market and kind of gather something similar as an extension of what we have in a matter of 3 to 4 months. So that processes and our way of kind of approaching that is already well tested. And that's why we feel that if there is the right funding, reaching a global level within the next 18 months is not a big challenge for us.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. And we are up against time. I do have a really good question from Romain Minier from EDF Singapore. Great presentation, thanks. Would your platform be ready to perform complex technical arbitrages like power grid extension versus off-grid microgrid deployment in potentially large study areas, for example, in a state or a country?
Yeah.
5 minutes.
At the moment, we have not reached down to the microgrid level. So our kind of a coverage is to a grid connected, and that is also at a grid that is connected at 100 kV and above. So over the period of time, we plan to go down to kind of a 66 kV as a grid analysis. But to answer your question around doing a what if analysis, it gives, our platform gives a good understanding of how the infrastructure is today, how it is going to change in the future or the near future as under construction, and with the element of site-related data. But then at the same time, we are also kind of developing an extension to that, which is market-based power models, which are really with the objective of answering those what if questions. So what if we kind of, and we have already kind of developed that for Philippines, next we're working on Vietnam, where the objective is really to take all this information and convert this into these long-term optimization models, which answer these sort of a what if analysis. What is better, whether to add a particular kind of extension to a line or any of the other constraints.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, I will let you get on with your evening. Let's see, you are in India?
I'm based in
so
Singapore.
That would be sort of, oh, you're in Singapore. Oh, sorry, you were in Singapore. Yeah, so that would be pretty late evening starting now, about 8:30. So we'll let you get on with it. And thank you so much, Irfan. Thank you, David Nagaraja, for the questions. And we'll have a poll to see who is interested, get some feedback on your presentation, see who's interested in connecting with you afterwards, and we will put them in touch with you. So great. So we'll do this in 30 seconds. Once again, take your time. These two very difficult questions here to answer. And then on deck, we have the last, and just as a timekeeping thing, I've been terrible. I will be fired as moderator. I'll never be hired again, but we're gonna go 10 minutes over because we have one final 10-minute block and then 2 or 3 minute wrap up. So with that, we're going to go to CTech, SEE Tech, and we have Milind Chitawar. Welcome, Milind. I see you, and there you are. Hi, how are you today?
Hi, I'm doing fine. Thank you, Pete.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. So I would ask the slide keeper to put up your presentation, and you've got 5 minutes. Thank you so much. Take it away.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. We are here to scale up energy efficiency. There have been so many manufacturing plants for so many years. The utility, process equipments, manufacturing equipments, they need to be improved, and the technology is available. Now, how do you do this? So the route that which we have chosen is by digitizing the supply chain. So our background has been completely into energy efficiency. We have done energy efficiency consulting very successfully. And then we have delivered over 20% savings through our energy performance contracts, wherein we have been debt funded by SBI, TCCL, and SIDBI. However, now there is an opportunity to really scale up energy efficiency, wherein a larger number of customers, a larger number of installations needs to be addressed. And for that, we need 1.25 million. Through this, we are going to really improve the bottom line through our highly profitable and customized energy efficiency solutions. These have been our customers, very successful delivery of energy savings. We have a very detailed team operating all across India and with very good energy efficiency technology partners, because actually equipment has to come from them. And we have good MOU with several organizations, with leading companies, with leading power distribution companies as well. And we have financing agencies, those who have financed us. Now they are willing to finance to our customers as well. And we are looking forward to expand our relationship with fintech startups as well as leasing companies. So the problem that we have is, how do we really scale up energy efficiency? There are plenty of technologies, there are plenty of options. However, and there are enormous number of energy audits we are being carried out, right? However, the deployment of energy efficiency project is really very, very less, and it's really high time. So what are the reasons? Actually, it requires a lot of customer education that needs to be done. It requires a lot of efforts to be made. There is conflict always, right? Then ASCOs do not have actually the credit evaluation and credit recovery skills. That is very important when they are doing through their OpEx solutions. The smaller ticket size increases the transaction cost. And the startups, they have very good technologies, but do not have the distribution channels and business development skills. So how can this be solved? So that's what is coming through our value proposition, wherein we have a platform-based solution for energy efficiency. Why not? There has to be a platform like Amazon or like Airbnb for energy efficiency as well. So herein what will happen, customer will be able to visualize his energy costs with efficiency tags and gap. Customers will get minimum 5 energy efficiency projects, because these needs to be customized, developed, right? There cannot be a direct pick and choose kind of a thing. So diagnosis and delivery of that, the implementation of that has to happen. So by having relationship with financing agencies, we are looking forward to deliver net positive cash flow to our customers. Our key novelty is the customized energy efficiency solutions delivery through the digitized supply chain. We have been a leading ASCO company in India. This platform will enable all the players to do their job, right? And top 30 energy efficiency technologies is what we are focusing on to implement along with their financing. Herein, the customers will get all the details of the solutions. They will be able to pick and choose. They'll be able to see the parallel way where it is running and how it is running. And these are the solutions. I mean, there is no left out solutions. As we see the competitive edge, we have a very strong background of actually identifying and implementing energy saving projects all across India. We have good relationships with banks. Market potential is really very high. World Bank has very clearly laid it out for India itself, over 150 billion. Right? Players like ESL has already demonstrated power of aggregation. We have heard them in the morning. Right? Then similar tools like ASCO in a box, these kind of things are available in UK. And the market potential of these technologies which we have chosen are over 100 billion USD. So we need funding for this purpose, which is business systems improvement, R&D, new product launch, platform upgradation, IoT adaptation, and marketing and sales. And this is our growth plan. Now we have several success stories. For the want of time, I'm moving it quickly. So this is how the solution will be offered to
5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm coming to the last slide. So this is our roadmap, very clearly defined for all the three segments, and we are completely focused to do this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Milan. Like others, you got to the ground floor and the guy or the woman you're talking to is so fascinated they will wait and hear at the end of your pitch. But you did a good job actually of, you put it up front and then you came to it at the end. I think it's fascinating just seeing the arc of your evolution from consulting to a full service ESCO to this digitized supply chain. So over to our questioners. First, David Yo from Singapore. David.
Thanks again for this a very interesting presentation. I'm just like to understand right now, what is actually your revenue model? Because is it a model whereby you could share savings, or is it an additional charge on top of the solution that you provide? So can you share more about this revenue stream that you are bringing?
Yeah, we will be doing complete turnkey implementation and delivering the savings. So it's basically a guaranteed savings kind of a model, and wherein along with the financing, the monthly EMI payment would be 70% of the total energy savings. So customers will be able to save 30% net without any additional cash flow from their end. And we will be completely responsible to make this happen. And we are anyway doing that with our investment. We have to just now put it to the banking industry directly investing into the project. That is the only change we have to incorporate to get the scale.
I just have a follow-up question, and that is that your investment asks are 1.25 million, and you have quite a fair bit of spread all around what you plan to do. Is this sufficient at all to make sure that you enjoy the kind of success that you want to project to do that to see through your projection?
Yeah, definitely. This is our requirement for first 18 months. And as we complete 18 months, definitely there would be the next phase. And herein we have already done a lot of job, a lot of work has been already done. So this funding requirement is especially for the 18 months.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then Nagaraja Rao, Head of Investment Facilitation for PFAN. Nagaraja.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Merlin. Thanks for the good presentation. As I can see, a lot depends upon how you intend to acquire the market share and grow your business. So if you could say something about what are the factors that limit the faster growth of your company, and what is your plan if there is not the financing partner that you are looking for to increase your sales? What is your plan B?
Our actual, what happens is in current way of working, the contract is signed and then we are into the assignment and then we are completely executing that. And then what happens is the follow-up with the previous one gets left out. So here in the platform, what happens is everything is live. There is nothing which is getting stopped. The access to the project, like imagine that there is after this 18 months period, there will be at least 1,000 project access which will be having access by the energy efficiency technology partners as well as the banking industry. And this banking industry and all these projects are at a reasonably good companies. So at rates platform, we have already seen the banking agencies are doing successful bidding at 5% and 6% of reducing rate. Whereas we can very well afford 11 to 13%, right? So I definitely see that the proper participation from the financing agencies. Actually, the limitation so far is that nothing is organized, right? Though the industry is very successful or they have done a good job, let's say, but the size is very small because of the absence of the systems or in another language, a platform.
So you feel confident about that and you don't see any barriers to growth that you are showing?
Why I'm saying so? Because, I mean, as an ESCO, we have done that, right? In India, we have really pioneered this. In 2012, we signed our first energy performance contract. At that point of time, this World Bank and SIDBI-led schemes for raising the finance were not there. We raised that finance through our own efforts, and continually we went through that. And even NBFCs like Tata Cleantech, they also participated into our project, and they done that, right? Now what is going to happen is they will be financing to the customers, and customers' balance sheet is far more better than us, right? What they need is that the customer's commitment that yes, they are going to repay like this. And why customers will be happy? Because the EMI which they have to pay is actually just the 70% of the savings. And for savings, they will be seeing at least 10 similar projects which are comfortably running, up and running. And if I had to show that personally in a salesman's form, it takes a lot of effort, right? Whereas the platform speaks by itself.
Good.
Yeah.
You haven't.
Okay. With that. So Nagaraja, with that, I will let the platform speak for itself. We do have to wrap it up. Did you have a final question? Because I cut you off before. I feel bad about cutting you off.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. Let's go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you, Milan, so much for your presentation. I'm sure there'll be a lot of interest in your business model and people who want to talk to you. Thank you so much, Nagaraja Rao, Head of Investment Facilitation for PFAN. Thank you, David Yo, our Regional Transaction Manager based in Singapore. Thank you so much. With that, we'll go to, and I'll invite you to take your leave, Milan, and we'll let people answer these two very difficult questions. Thank you. You can turn off your video now, Milan. Great. Great, so we'll let it go for about 10 or 15 more seconds. And in the meantime, my sidekick has joined, Kavita Gandhi. Okay, well, let's end the poll, and then Kavita and I will regale you with tales of amazing lands far away. Now, we're going to just say thanks. But I did want to, in all seriousness, I did want to talk briefly about this partnership, whence it came and where it's going. So as mentioned earlier by Kavita in her very gracious opening remarks, we've been working together on stuff since the Asia Forum on Clean Energy Financing back in 2009, 2010. And CS has supported a number of PFAN events. About 3 or 4 years ago, we started doing working together at the Singapore International Energy Week as part of the Asia Clean Energy Summit. PFAN has been involved supporting the Power ACE contest, which will be starting up, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. And so that's first thing, a long partnership. This level of partnership is just expanding and deepening the cooperation. So what we do with CS and PFAN, we bring the connections to Singapore. We have sort of, as you can see, very tech-savvy, data-savvy, tech-enabled companies. An amazing group of companies that we've put together in my humble opinion. But we have work with Singapore companies who are accessing or going into markets in less developed countries. PFAN also brings in companies that are based in countries such as India, Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines. Some of those are have the potential to partner with the Singapore companies. And we identify companies and we build their capacity and we try to help them raise investment. So related to that, we generally don't focus on really early startups. We focus on sort of early stage commercial projects and businesses, and also growth stage. So that's the focus. Then for our next event, we will be having a workshop called Are You Investor Ready? So if you're a startup and you're interested, let us know. You can contact us through the organizer, CS or PFAN, And that event will be on the 1st of July. So again, it's for startups, and we'll be announcing on that date the launch of the Power ACE competition. So with that, I think this is the last time I'll ever be allowed to moderate a session because we went about 15 minutes over. I'm terribly sorry, Kavita. But we hope you had a great time. We'd like to thank ADB. Like to thank all of the you participants who stayed on this long and got to hear from these companies. And most of all, we'd like to thank the companies themselves. So Kavita, I'll let you have the last word.
Oh, absolutely. A big thank you to you, Peter, for moderating for us today. It was fantastic. You kept everybody on task. And thank you to ADB, for letting us do this side event at ACEF. Much appreciated. Thank you to the companies and thank you to all our participants. And a very, very, I would say, good night from Singapore. Peter can say good morning from the East Coast of America and everything in between. Goodbye and good night.
Okay. Goodbye. Bye-bye.